Hey guys, it's me again. So this part of my presentation is going to be a continuation from the previous video that you saw, where I talked about the case file of Richard Ramirez. And so, in this particular section, I'm going to be covering the childhood of Richard Ramirez. So that's going to fall under the nature versus nurture theory. I'm gonna be covering what some of his family influences are, if he had any outside influences, and how those outside influences affected his adulthood. Okay. So let's get down to it. When Richard Ramirez was born, his family was very religious. His father was a pastor. His mother was very involved with the church. So one would assume that having such a religious background that one wouldn't even think about committing such heinous crimes. I mean, one wouldn't even dare to do it. But, I mean, then again, like I said in the previous sections before, you never know. You never know. That's the scary thing about criminals. It could be anybody. And when it came to Richard Ramirez, the person who had the most influence on him would have to be his cousin, Mike Ramirez. Mike Ramirez was a returning war veteran. He served in the Vietnam War, and as we all know, the Vietnam War was not the prettiest of all wars. But then again, when is war ever pretty? Never. Just isn't. And when he returned from war, he was pretty messed up. Not for several reasons. I mean, one, the drugs, and two, some of the gory things and horrific things that he had to do while he was serving. And when he returned, he shared all of his experiences with Richard Ramirez. He told him stories about some of the stuff he would do to his victims. Sorry, how he would kill them without even thinking about it. Now imagine Richard Ramirez was still a child when Mike Ramirez returned from the Vietnam War. So imagine yourself being 8, 9, 10 years old and being introduced to this. Imagine the type of impact that it would have on somebody. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And not only that, they started doing drugs together. And the link below, it talks about his childhood and how they did weed. They smoked a lot, and they were satanic worshippers. Sorry for the pronunciation. But yeah, the turning point in Richard Ramirez's childhood was when Mike Ramirez murdered his wife, and Richard Ramirez was forced to watch as Mike was killing his wife. And that was the turning point in his life. That was when Richard Ramirez, the child, had died, and the Richard Ramirez, the murderer, the Night Stalker killer, was born. You don't go back from that. Seeing your own family do that to somebody, and right in front of you, you don't go back from that. And that was the starting point of Richard Ramirez's career as a criminal. That's where it started. That's where it all started.